Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Life as I See It. This show is a little bit of a break from Your Life at the Top, which was my radio show, in which I spoke a lot about wellness and peace of mind. What I wanted from Life as I See It is for it to be a forum in which I, as well as my guests, would be able to speak about whatever is on our minds, to be able to vent, to be able to discuss about the topics of the day in a non-judgmental and mindful kind of a manner. And today I have with me Rachel Siegel, and she is my very first guest of my very first show of Life as I See It, and here she is.
Hi everybody. Hi Dena. Dena, thank you very much for inviting me.
My pleasure.
Dena is an amazing person. She always smiles, she's bubbly, she's friendly.
Thank you.
Everybody loves her, and when I met Dena for the first time, I went to her event and I was like, wow, look what she's doing. She's doing things from the heart. She wants to do things for other people. That is so beautiful. And everybody enjoy and like to go to her events, you know, and now she's having this special event that I'm very grateful. And you're really doing a great job, Dena. I mean, like, how did you start that? How did you come up with this whole idea?
I started these parties many, many years ago. I was 24 years old, and I had just given birth to my second child, and I had terrible, terrible postpartum depression. Now, one of my friends was making a fundraiser, and she literally had to twist my arm to come to her fundraiser. And at the fundraiser, at the end of the evening, the person who was running the party said, well, who is going to be the next person to do this same party? And somewhere from the bottom of my heart, I just jumped out of my seat and said, I'm going to make the next party. And I was the most depressed person that I knew at the time. I was practically suicidal. But I have been making parties ever since I was 24. Now I'm twice that age, and the parties keep on rolling. I feel like I go from one party to the next. As soon as one party is over, I schedule the next party, and this is how I have been living my life, party to party, and this is how I enjoy it.
You don't look your age. You gotta be kidding.
Thank you.
What's the secret of life?
My secret of life is that I have an excellent plastic surgeon in Manhattan. To be brutally honest, and we're going to talk about that during my shows. You know, I believe that if you have a beauty secret, it's very important to share it with everybody. Because
100%.
This is it. Don't keep these things to yourself. You gotta be willing to share. And one of the things that we're doing on this show, Life as I See It, is sharing. We are sharing from the bottom of our hearts. This is a show to vent. This is a show to discuss what's going on in real life, not trying to sugarcoat things. This show is more than just about how to make your own body scrub at home, though we'll probably wind up talking about stuff like that at some point. This show is all about getting it off your chest and, you know, just feeling good in the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna get it out of my chest, the story of my life, and I would just say and ask a question. Do you know who you are? Do you know who your neighbors are? Do you know who your parents are? Do you know who your grandparents are? Everybody has a story. I have one of my story. When I was a little girl, when I was born, at that time, that was after the war, Stalin made a law enforcement rule for mothers with children that mothers must work, and if they don't work or take a day off for any reason, they'll be arrested and they would put them in jail. And then the government said, we're gonna build daycare centers free of charge. So they built everywhere daycare center free of charge. Children at age, not even age, it's just 4 or 5 months old, just practically out of the mother's womb, and they need their hug and a kiss, and here they're saying they have to go sleepaway daycare center, being there a whole week, and only Sunday, one day a week, the parents could take them home. So they couldn't get their hugs and kisses. So I didn't get my hugs and kisses as much as I needed it as a child. But what did I know? I didn't know I needed that. But that's how it was. And like it was like that for 5 years, because children were supposed to be in sleepaway daycare center until the school age. And the first grades in Russia started at age 6, not before. And then it was summer vacation. Summer vacation would be summer camp. So children will have to be sleepaway summer camp. So parents couldn't even take them on vacation because they're supposed to be in sleepaway camp. And they could only visit them once a week to bring them some goodies. And I remember my mother once brought watermelon. It was so sweet. I was eating with a spoon and it was like sugar melting in my mouth. And then once I saw the picture, and myself with a group of children holding hands, and I asked my mom, who took that picture? Where's the picture from? She said, well, you know what, when you went sleepaway camp, your father went and he took pictures of you. I said, wow, look at that. So only you could take pictures. You can't spend time with your child. You can't give a hug. You can't give a kiss. You could only do it once a week. And on summertime, you can't even, you could only come and see them, and then you have to go home. I thought it was normal at that time, but now as an adult and having my own children and grandchildren, I know it wasn't normal. So sometimes what it looks normal turns out to be not normal. If something looks not normal becomes normal. It's like life is a circle. Everything comes and goes. Okay. So then, when I became 6 years old, and I went to school. And lucky enough, because I was Jewish, and I didn't know I was Jewish actually, I went to school, and then I was playing in the schoolyard, and one girl told me, oh, you're Jew. I said, what? I said, I'm not. She said, yes, you are. I went home and I asked my mom, are we Jewish? She said, yes. I got hysterical crying. I said, Mom, I don't want to be Jewish. Everybody hates Jewish. I don't want to be Jewish. I don't want to be Jewish. And I was so sad. It was really a big trauma for me. Nobody wants to be Jewish. Everybody wants to be Russian. And I'm just like, wow, that was so terrible. It was so sad. It was so sad. I would never forget it. It changed my life at that age. And since I turned out to be damn Jewish, they start in school, they lower my grades all my life. For 8 years I was in school. They lower my grades. It would never leave me behind. I stopped doing my homework. I said, you know what? What's the difference? They would not even leave me behind. They would, summertime I would have to go to summer school. It was a torture. It was a complete torture, But that's how it was. I got used to it, and I thought it was normal already. When you live certain way as a child, it becomes normal, But then I remember, my mother came with a family of 6. And we visit grandparents. Yeah, we visit, visit my grandparents, and that was really memory of my life that I was so lucky that I have grandparents that I was able to see and visit. And the memory is, I would go to their house and they would have a big table with so much food, yummy, smelled great, gefilte fish, chicken soup, wine, cholent. It was just unbelievable, But I didn't know what that food meant. It was just the food, I didn't know anything about Shabbos. There was Shabbos food that I didn't know about it. There was Shabbos food. Wow, little that I knew. And then I remember there was another room. One room was a bedroom where 6 children slept in one room. It was one bed for the girls, for 3 girls. Another bed was for 3 boys. And then one day another room opened up, and I see a man is singing and wearing shmatas. I said, wow, okay, singing club. Singing club my grandparents had, great. And then not only that singing club, they had chickens and roosters and ducks. I played with them. I came with sunflowers, and the rooster took my sunflower, was upset at the rooster. It was fun. And then my grandmother made pillows out of ducks, the feathers of the ducks. I remember she was sitting and just every feather, she took it apart and made pillows. We had big pillows from grandmother. I said, whoa, that's fun. I helped her. I also was sitting with her and doing that. And I said, wow, that's great. And then it was so much fun. We had to carry the water. We would go outside and we had to carry the water, 2 pails at the same time. The bathroom was outside, so it was fun. I need to take a shower. You have to warm up the water. The stove was we have to bring the wood in. It was fun. You put the wood in a stove and then you turn it on and the stove gets hot. It was great. And then my mother told me once, she said, you know what? When it was Shabbos, while I was in America already, she said, when it was Shabbos, she would ask her mother, she said, I'm hungry, I want food, I want to eat. She said, you have to wait when Daddy will come home, and they will eat, we'll eat all together. She said, but I'm hungry now. Oh, but she said, you know what, there's respect. The father has to eat first, and then we could take soup. So she said, Mom, can you just take one plate of soup and put it aside for Daddy? And I could eat another plate. And she said, no, you have to wait, he has to eat first. There was a Jewish tradition that I didn't know. It's interesting,
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, so it was fascinating. So the chickens and the roosters and all that, that I thought it was for fun, it turned out to be was kosher food. That they just had the kosher food. And he never worked. My grandfather never worked for anybody. And when he was age retired, they offered him pension plan, and he said, no thank you, I never worked for you, I don't want anything from you. So that was the way he was living. He didn't work for anybody. He had his chickens, and then people told me he used to make matzah and cheese and eggs, and he would sell. That was the way he was be able to support the family, by trading food, by selling wherever he could do on his own, so he wouldn't have to work on Shabbos. Otherwise, people in Russia, they worked 6 days a week, and they were home on Sunday. It meant Saturday they had to go to work.
Which is Shabbat.
Right. Yeah. So they had their Shabbos. He kept his Shabbos, and I'll never forget, one day he came to my house, in my parents' house, and he gave me a ruble, $1, and I'm just like, oh, he gave it to me. Later on, when I was in America already and it was Hanukkah, I realized, that was Hanukkah time and he gave me the gelt. A little that I knew. And then also in America, when I went to shul, and, actually going to shul, I live across the street from shul. I want to go to shul for so many years, so long. I was always looking in the window and watching and wanted to see when people go in and when people go out. And what do they wear, and what time they go. I had no idea. So then when my children went to yeshiva, I started going to shul. So I attended children's group. And holiday time was interesting. They were blowing the shofar, Rosh Hashanah, and man goes in and out the stage, and talis is on, talis is off, shoes on, shoes off. And I was like, wow. And then something like a piece of puzzle, fit in my life. And I remember in my grandfather's house, Dina, I'll never forget all this kosher food that I didn't know there was kosher food, Shabbos food. And the door opened up and there was singing. I thought it was a singing club. But it turned out to be, he had a shul, and they were wearing talis and they were praying. Little that I knew, I said, wow, it was a big secret. Everything is a big secret. It turned out to be when I went to my uncle's funeral, and the rabbi was saying, well, in Ukraine, Kharkov, there was a shul, the police destroyed the shul, and then his brother opened the shul, and when they found out, they destroyed his shul, and they put him in jail.
It's a shame everything had to be a big secret.
And we're so lucky today, we could go to shul, we don't have to be afraid.
Yeah.
And we could choose, we want to practice, we don't want to practice, we want to be black hat, you want to be a Lubavitch, you want to be Sephardic, you want to be Ashkenaz. You could be whoever you want to be, but you are Jewish. You're Jewish, and you could choose the way you want to practice your religion. We have a choice.
Yeah.
In Russia, there was no choice.
Yeah.
There's no choice. Not only that, like they would have international dancing and costumes, there was never international Israeli costume.
Interesting. Wow, it was like it was considered to be like a big shame to be Israeli.
Right.
Wow, incredible.
And And they had all the languages and all different songs, but nothing.
But
nothing in Hebrew.
nothing in Hebrew.
No.
I have a friend whose mother was a music teacher and she knew all of the Hebrew songs, but she kept her Jewish identity a complete and total secret.
Right.
So she knew all the Israeli anthems and all of that, but she was ashamed to tell anybody she was Jewish. Married a non-Jewish Russian man and kept her identity a secret her entire life. You know, it's only when my friend did a genetic test that she realized that she's Jewish.
Right, because in Russia, a lot of people change their nationality.
Yeah, I imagine I would have. I would have.
And they would
who needs the anti-Semitism?
Right, and there would be intermarriages.
Yeah.
So in Russia, if a father is Russian, then the children are Russian.
Right.
So they would marry, the Jewish girls would marry Russian boys, and the children would be Russian. Even though, by Jewish...
She's technically Jewish and so
yes.
are her kids.
Right, so it's interesting, actually, I'm jumping a little bit, but I met one girl and, we're talking and everything, and she's like wearing a cross. And then I said, well, we have Hanukkah coming up. She said, but my mother is Jewish and my grandmother is Jewish, but my father wasn't Jewish. So I told her, you're Jewish. She said, really? She didn't know. I said, yeah, because your mother is Jewish, you're Jewish. But she was raised Catholic.
Wow.
And so it was all confusing, and those kind of things happen a lot.
Right.
It happened a lot. So we're so lucky being in America that we have these choices.
We have the choices, but even so, there is so much anti-Semitism these days here in America, and particularly now in New York City. It's enough to make you want to leave the city, which we should never feel like we have to do. I mean, this is the melting pot. We should feel like this is where we can live and thrive and work and enjoy and tell the whole world that we're Jewish,
Exactly.
and that we go to Jewish private school, that we go to our synagogues, that we enjoy our holidays. Instead, what has to happen these days is to go to shul on Shabbat, we have to have a full cop presence. We need police at every single synagogue to make sure that no hijinks goes down, and it's an extremely scary time to be a religious Jew here in America, which is sad because our founding fathers were all about freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of everything, and you have so many people and they speak deliberately against it.
Right. But it's interesting, like the Jewish people always survived.
We always make it.
We always make it survive. We're talking about music, like your friend was, played music. It's interesting if you notice, and people know that Russian people, a lot of them are music teachers.
They are, yes.
Most of them are music teachers. Do you know why? It's very interesting because in Russia, only boys had to go to the army. So the Jewish families would make sure that the boy knows how to play musical instrument. If he knows how to play musical instrument, when he goes to the army, he would be in the band because he will not have to go to unsafe.
Oh, really?
Yes, would not go to unsafe places, because some of them were really not so safe, and they come back and being sick, and who knows what's been happening there. So that's why most of them know how to play musical instrument. They were forcing children to play. I remember I had a friend, and his father would even beat him up with a belt and say, "You have to practice a musical instrument. You must." He didn't know why the father was forcing him, but he wanted to make sure,
that he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And this way he could get out of battle and all that.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a lot of things like we don't understand why, and I guess this is something has to do sometimes when parents tell us what to do, they don't always explain.
They don't, right. Yeah, and I'll tell you one more thing that doesn't happen here in America. The government will not explain why they want people to wear masks. Right away when they said wear masks, it was supposed to be to keep COVID out of the way, and for a while it did. But even after COVID stopped being such a danger, they still wanted people to keep wearing their masks. I'm sure it was to shut people up, to put people under the mindset that, zip it up, you have no right to say what's on your mind, so just wear this thing and keep on being subservient. And now that the governor and Biden have all said you don't have to do the masks anymore, there's a very, very interesting demographic of people who still insist on wearing the mask.
Yeah.
And good for them, but they also try to insist that everybody else keep wearing the mask.
Right.
I'm telling
That's
you.
what they're trying to do. Doesn't mean it's right.
And that's it. It does not mean that it's right.
Yeah, but some people feel like, oh, if the government tells you what to do, they know what to do. If you watch TV and that's what you see here, you have to do that. If you read in newspapers, you have to do it. People don't understand that they need to make everything is possible to get their own research, use their own brains to make a decision. We don't have to be ships to follow up, just like in Russia. They made people, just follow and do what they're told, do what I say. That's how it was. It reminds me that when I was a little girl, in my one neighbor built a house for himself. When the government found out he built the house, they took the house away, and they said, this is going to be for daycare center, you're not allowed to have your own property.
Oh my.
Yes, so nobody was allowed to have you're not allowed to have your own property, you're not allowed to have your own business, so everybody had to be equal, and that's what they're trying to do here right now.
Exactly, yeah.
Everybody has to be equal.
Right.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed. They're being told people what to do, and this is it's rolling over here, and people don't see it. I mean, if somebody wants to live in communist country, let them go move to Russia.
Yeah.
Communist country.
Get out of here. If you want to live in a communist country.
Yes. You don't like America. You don't like to have freedom.
Get the heck out of here.
You don't want freedom of speech. You don't want freedom of choices. You want to be controlled. You don't want to have your own business. You don't want to be independent.
You don't want to allow others to have their own business. Get the heck out of here. Who needs you?
Just go.
That's it. Where is it located? It's by Avenue H and Flatbush Avenue, and there's this humongous mural directly across from Target. And there's a bunch of pictures of like what's supposed to be depicting New Yorkers.
Yeah.
And all over this whole big billboard it says, "The rich killed New York City." That's bullcrap. I'm sorry. That's not true. The rich killed New York City. Everybody has their own chance to make good here in New York City.
Absolutely.
You're upset that you haven't made it. You're not trying hard enough. Keep on trying.
Exactly, and the government wants people to be on welfare. They want people to get food stamps. They want people to have Section 8. They like killing small businesses. They want people to be independent. They're giving them money. They give them money so people feel like, oh, why should I go to work if I get the same money from the government? So some people don't realize that they'll be dependent on them. They'll be told what to do. They will not have a freedom and make their own choices. What they could do with themselves. Because if one day, if these people don't do what the government wants them to do, they won't give them the money, and then they don't have money and they don't have a job, and they're just like lost on the street, and they could become homeless. Just homeless. So many homeless people. I was yesterday walking on the beach, and I had some food left over, and I felt like, I don't want to throw it away. Maybe hungry people. I took a walk on the beach, and there was a homeless person. I gave him Chinese food. He was so happy. So I asked him, I said, what happened? How come you don't have a place to live? And he said, well, I lived with my aunt. She passed away. I had a job in Queens. Everybody knows me, but then I couldn't afford to pay rent. So he said, it's not safe to be on a train. People get caught. People get beat up on a train. It's not safe. Homeless shelters are not safe either. He said, the only safe is living on the beach and not to go anywhere. You can't even go public transportation because at night, homeless people who on a train at night, it's dangerous. It's a big danger, and I felt so bad for him. And so I told him, I said, don't you get money from the government? He's like, no, I have to have an address. I said, so do a PO box. He said, no, you have to have permanent address, then they'll send you a check, otherwise you cannot. So people who cannot afford to have a place to live and they have an address, they cannot receive money from the government. They end up being on the street. We have so many homeless people. I walk on Brighton Beach, I start taking pictures of all these homeless people. They sell things and they have a little tent and they're sleeping in a tent and they're living there, and it's just like, wherever they could sell books, dresses, coats, shoes, whatever they could find, they're trying to sell to make a few dollars to have food to eat. It just, how did they let them live this way? What's going on? It's like I'm speechless. My head is
Mind-boggling. Yeah, it's just crazy. And what they did with COVID was how they shut down all the businesses. What gave the government the right to shut down private business? You know, it's like if a person doesn't want to get sick, stay home or mask it up. But to force all of the small businesses to close down, so many businesses have closed down permanently. And what gave the government that right?
Well, Dena, I apologize. It's not exactly like that because the liquor stores are open.
Of course! Because people needed that for the mental sanity. That's right. So, in other words, the government got to kind of pick and choose which stores got to be open and which stores got to be closed. And I don't think that they chose very, very equitably because there was just some stores that really, really needed to be open. These amazing small businesses that are now shut permanently forever. And it's incredible what the government thought that they could do to people. You know, shutting them up, masking them up.
And controlling them, and give them rules. And even when people follow the rules, they had to distance, they had masks, they had follow all the rules. They would come and give them a ticket and tell them to close.
Come and give it, yeah, exactly, that's right. And looking around for businesses that might possibly be open. I know a salon that had been open anyway, kind of like on the QT, but once they were discovered and they were ratted out on, I think that their fine was $25,000. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna fine a company, yeah, but $25,000? I don't think so.
Because they want them to get out of the business. They don't want people to have business.
They want to just shut down everybody. They want it to be so that everybody has the exact same amount. Nobody has a dime more than the other person. And that's what they wanted.
Right, and they giving this information to people and making people believe that everything should be equal. You know, they're not giving opportunities for people to have jobs. They closing the businesses, no jobs. They give them like a bone to the dog, be happy, but then what if they run out of those bones, those monies? What's going to happen then? Then those dogs will be homeless. They won't have anything. So they're making people to be homeless already. Instead of giving the opportunity, there was a time when Trump was the president, there was so many jobs. Now there's not so many jobs. You know, so people need food.
Right. And what was the stimulus package like anyway? Teeny tiny. Oh, we'll send you out $1,200. How far can $1,200 take you in this day and age? I ask. And my husband's in real estate management, and they keep on delaying when people have to start paying their rents.
Right.
You know, it's like we've been going for over a year now without people paying their rent.
Yeah, that's just.
Come on, it's like it has that fear to us.
You know, people take advantage. People who could afford, they're not paying because the government says it's okay. You don't have to pay, and you know the courts are closed. You can't take them to court, and they're just going against people's opportunities to make a living. People working hard, and they're not letting them work hard. They want to destroy their businesses.
Yeah. What about laissez-faire? What about the government laying off small companies? Capitalism, that's been a cornerstone of America since its inception, and now there's no more capitalism. Now it's all about the government dictating all the rules about businesses, small private businesses, you know, how much even we can increase the rent. And I know that the landlord is always the bad guy, of course, but trying to dictate how much increase we can make and just making so many rules that it's almost impossible to make a living these days.
Yeah, I heard that even like say if the people pay a certain amount of rent, you're not allowed to raise.
That's right.
You're not allowed to raise rent. And if people don't pay rent, they don't pay rent. And let's say if somebody, if one of the landlords said, landlord would say, it's a difficult time, I'll give you a break and lower the rent, let's say $500 less. In the future, you're not allowed to raise it. You have to live it that way.
That's what I heard. And it's just unfortunate. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for letting all of us vent. Like I said, the show's not going to be just about body scrubs and giving yourself the perfect facial. The show is Life as I See It with Dena Nierenberg, as well as my my guests, and today's guest was absolutely amazing. Rachel Siegel, thank you so
Thank you so much. And I just want to mention, everybody, please, just like what Dena has this amazing show, be free to speak. Have freedom of speech and be proud of yourself.